By golly, it's amazing. It sounds like something you'd hear on the radio.
Presenting the transcription feature.
The Lucky Strike program starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson.
It's 8:30 New York time. Time to wake up America and stump the expert.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
Kraft presents The Great Gildersleeve.
And now meet Dick Calmer as Boston Blackie.
It's the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, presented transcribed by the makers of Rexall Drug Products.
And now it's time to meet the men from the ministry.
The Armed Forces Radio and Television Service presents the Bob Hope Show with Les Brown and his band of renown. And yours truly, Bill Goodwin. And now here he is, Bob Hope.
Greetings, I'm Kevin Lauderdale. I'm going for kind of a summer theme with this episode. Here's another episode of Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. Our Miss Brooks was on CBS Radio from 1948 to 1957, that's 9 years, and simultaneously on television from 1952 to 1956. In it, Eve Arden plays Connie Brooks, a high school English teacher. I love Our Miss Brooks not just for Eve Arden's brilliantly sardonic performances, but for the way she depicts teachers. I am both the son and husband of teachers, so I know how hard it is they work, and I know they spend their own money buying supplies and all that. But today's culture too often depicts teachers as martyrs to a great calling. It's really hard to find a teacher on TV or in the movies who isn't completely noble and selfless. This series depicts Connie Brooks as much less than perfect and frequently just annoyed by her students. It's sort of refreshing. You need to know a little bit about the background characters if this is your first time with the show. Mr. Boyton is the school's biology teacher. Miss Brooks sees him as boyfriend material, but he's oblivious to her interest. Walter Denton is one of the high school students. He's always giving Miss Brooks a ride because her car is constantly in the shop. Mr. Conklin is the school's principal. This particular episode is actually a September episode, end of summer, but I'm giving you an all-summer themed broadcast this time. Our Miss Brooks, from September 4th, 1955, Summer Vacation.
Now, Anacin, the tablets thousands of physicians and dentists recommend for fast relief of pain of headache, neuritis, neuralgia, and Bicidol mints that quickly rid stomach of gastric distress, present Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. It's time once again for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks Transcribed. But first, here is something you should know if you ever suffer from the pain of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia. It's an incredibly fast way to ease the pain. It's Anacin, a way countless numbers of people have found superior. Anacin acts so promptly to relieve pain. Anacin is like a doctor's prescription. That is, Anacin contains not just one, but a combination of medically proven active ingredients in convenient tablet form. Thousands of persons have been introduced to Anacin through their own physicians or dentists. But today these tablets are in such widespread use that all drug counters have them, and everyone can have the benefit of their incredibly fast action. So if you want to relieve the pains of headache, neuritis, or neuralgia, by all means try Anacin, on this guarantee. If the first few Anacin tablets do not give you all the relief you want, as fast as you want it, return the unused portion and your money will be refunded. I'll spell the name for you, Anacin. Easy-to-take Anacin tablets come in handy boxes of 12 and 30 and economical family-size bottles of 50 and 100. Ask for Anacin at your druggist's today. Well, many school teachers embarked upon their summer vacations as soon as school ended last June. But our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High School, could only afford 1 week away from the city and waited until September to make her departure.
Yes, I wanted my vacation to remain fresh in my memory. I felt that in the long winter months ahead, I could use some glowing memories to warm my bones. Last Friday morning, the date I had set to leave town, my landlady sat down to breakfast with me.
So you're finally going on your vacation, Connie?
Yes, Mrs. Davis, I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
I know you have, dear. Ever since Mr. Boyton left town 2 weeks ago. You must miss him dreadfully.
Me? Miss Mr. Boyton dreadfully? Why?
We all know how you feel about Madison's handsome biology teacher, Connie. And it's just a shame that he's so bashful when it comes to women.
Oh, I don't mind his being bashful when it comes to women. It's just this one particular English teacher who I mind his being bashful with when it comes to her, usually. Anyway, let's change the subject.
All right, Connie. We'll talk about something else.
Fine.
Mr. Boynton's spending his vacation at Crystal Lake.
So what? Mr. Boynton's spending his vacation at Crystal Lake. As far as I'm concerned, he can go his way and I'll go my way.
Where are you going on your vacation, Connie?
Crystal Lake. It just happens that my picking out Crystal Lake for a vacation was merely a coincidence. As a matter of fact, I simply took a map of some surrounding resort towns and stuck a pin in it.
And the pin landed on Crystal Lake?
Who knows? I was afraid to look. But Walter Denton's coming over to help me with my bags this morning, and I'd appreciate it if you don't mention Mr. Boynton in front of him.
Well, why not, Connie? Walter knows you're fond of Mr. Boynton.
Well, I'm fond of Walter, too, Mrs. Davis, but that kid can be an awful tease at times, usually when it's most embarrassing. So do me a favor. When he gets here, I'm just going to Crystal Lake to relax, huh?
Okay. Now eat your cereal, dear. I'll go see if...
Oh, that's Walter now. The door's open, Walter. Come on in the dinette.
Farewell, oh fairest flower of the faculty. Adieu, Miss Brooks. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Aloha.
Don't push me. I'm going.
Miss Brooks is going to Crystal Lake to relax, Walter. That's the only reason in the world she's going there. Just to relax.
That's right, Walter.
And guess who'll be there to relax with her?
Mrs. Davis, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Connie. Well, I'll go get the coffee started. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Take your time. Oh, it'll be nice to get away for a while. I've been typing reports for Mr. Conklin till my nails are worn down.
Yeah, you've earned a good rest, Miss Brooks. And Crystal Lake is a great place to get it.
It certainly is.
It's also a great place to nail down Mr. Boynton. He's still vacationing up there, you know.
He is? Well, you might not believe this, Walter, but the fact that Mr. Boynton happens to be at Crystal Lake in the Beaver Lodge in room 124 is certainly news to me.
Now, tell the truth, Miss Brooks. Since he's been away, has Mr. Boynton called you much?
He hasn't called me anything I couldn't repeat in mixed company. Oh, you mean has he telephoned? Well, to be perfectly honest, Walter, Mr. Boynton did phone me about a week ago, but I didn't enjoy the conversation as much as I should have.
Why not?
Well, Mr. Boynton told me that the desk clerk at Beaver Lodge, Mr. Turner, was quite a snooper, and he used to listen in on the guest telephone calls.
Oh, gosh, that's pretty hard to believe in a nice hotel like that.
I didn't believe it myself until Mr. Turner cut in on us to deny the whole thing.
Well, Turner or no Turner, you ought to phone Mr. Boynton and tell him you're coming up today.
Not me, Walter. I want to surprise him.
Yeah, but you haven't spoken to him in a week. He might have checked out.
Checked out?
Sure. But even if he hasn't, you don't have to give the surprise away. Just tell him you called to pass the time of day. Don't even mention that you're driving up.
Well,
Yo, that's my pal, Stretch Snodgrass, Miss Brooks. He said he was going to come over and say goodbye to you.
Oh, I'm quite flattered. Stretch is Madison's most brilliant athlete. Physically, that is. Come in, Stretch.
Yeah, I'll go help Mrs. Davis in the kitchen. Stretch is pretty bashful sometimes. He'll probably feel more comfortable if he talks to you alone.
All right, Walter. See what's holding up my coffee, will you?
All right, Miss Brooks. Walter told me you was going away, so I just come by to say oof Weezer's end.
Oof Hoozer's end?
Weezer's end. Well, that's a word Walter taught me. He told me it means goodbye. Gosh, if oof Weezer's end doesn't mean goodbye, then my coming over to wish you oof Weezer's end must make me out to be some kind of a dummy.
but a very nice kind, Stretch. Actually, the word you have in mind is pronounced Auf Wiedersehen.
Oh. Well, I never was much good at them French words.
I know. English is where you shine.
That's because you're my teacher, Miss Brooks.
Don't spread it around.
Well, I'm sure glad you're getting to go on a vacation.
Me too, Stretch. I can use the rest. I'm going up to Crystal Lake for the week. It's a great place to relax.
Boy, it sure is. When it comes to relaxing, Mr. Boynton's one of the nicest guys to relax with.
Here's your beanie, Stretch. Auf Wiedersehen.
Before I go, Miss Brooks, I'd like to make a suggestion. If you're going to go up to the lodge, you ought to call Mr. Boynton first.
But, Stretch, I don't want him to...
It won't spoil the surprise. Just don't mention you're driving up. Just say you called to pass the time of day.
This sounds like a conspiracy.
Hiya, Stretch. Finished saying goodbye to Miss Brooks yet?
Just about, Walter.
Yeah, good. Now, if you'll give us the keys to your car, Miss Brooks, Stretch and I'll see that it's all gassed up and ready to go.
Fine, here they are, but make it fast, boys. I'd like to get started right after breakfast.
Well, don't worry, Miss Brooks. We'll be back in a jiffy. Come on, Walter.
You okay, Stretch? Well, hasta la vista, Miss Brooks.
Gracias, Walter. Adios, Stretch.
Hasta Visalia, Miss Brooks.
Here's the coffee, Connie. Nice and hot.
Good. You know something, Mrs. Davis? As soon as I finish my coffee, I'm going to call Mr. Boynton on the phone, just to make sure he hasn't checked out of Beaver Lodge.
But, Connie, you don't want him to...
Oh, it won't spoil the surprise. I'll just say I called to pass the time of day. I won't even mention that I'm driving up this morning.
What a wonderful idea, Connie. When did you get it?
Twice.
Hello?
Mr. Boynton, Miss Brooks is calling you from the city.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Turner.
Go ahead, Miss Brooks.
Hello, Mr. Boynton?
Miss Brooks, my goodness, it's nice to hear from you.
I was just wondering how you're enjoying yourself. How's the weather up there?
Well, lately the weather's been pretty good.
Pretty good, 85 in the shade.
Please, Mr. Turner.
Well, you can't beat that kind of weather no matter where you go.
Mr. Turner.
Yes, Miss Brooks?
Goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
Tell me, Miss Brooks, will you be able to get away for a bit of vacation before school opens?
Oh, I'm afraid not, Mr. Boynton. Looks like I'll be stuck in the city. Are you planning to stay on at the lodge for a while?
Yes, indeed. Planning to stay another week. Oh, it's heavenly here, Miss Brooks.
Oh, are the fish biting?
Mr. Turner.
I caught a whopper this morning, didn't I, Mr. Boynton?
Well, it was a pretty good-sized fish.
Pretty good. It was just the biggest trout you ever saw.
Actually, it was a pickerel.
You call a fish with those markings a pickerel? I'm surprised at your ignorance, Boynton.
Now, just a minute, Mr. Turner. I happen to be a biology teacher, and I know my fish.
Well, you don't know my fish. I've been fishing in these parts for 20 years.
15 of them have gone by since I got on the phone. Now, will you please let me continue my conversation?
And who might you be, Missy?
The name is Brooks, as in trout. Now, will you please let me talk to my party?
Of course, of course. Who was it you were calling again?
Mr. Boynton.
I'll put you right through.
Thanks. Hello, Mr. Boynton?
Well, hello, Miss Brooks.
Gad, it's good to hear your voice again.
That goes double with me. Ah, gosh. You know, when I was out canoeing last night, with the moonlight dappling the lake with patches of silver, I got to thinking. Thinking about you, Miss Brooks.
About me, Mr. Boynton?
Yes. I couldn't help thinking that...
I'm afraid I have another call on the board. Will you forgive me if I tear myself away for a minute?
Tear to your heart's content, Mr. Turner. Mr. Boynton, you were thinking?
Of how long it's been since I've seen you. I can't tell you how much I've missed you.
Oh, sure you can. Just tell me quickly before the offstage mystery voice comes back. Come on, Mr. Boynton, tell me.
Well, this may sound rather brash coming from me, Miss Brooks, but...
Yes, Mr. Boynton?
Gosh, I suppose I could tell you if I were with you, but over the phone, I don't know if I should.
Oh, go ahead. I'll hold my
ear. Oh, what's the use? I'll have to tell you some other time, Miss Brooks.
I suppose so. But before we hang up, Mr. Boynton, you are definitely staying at Crystal Lake for another week.
Well, that's my plan, Miss Brooks. I certainly appreciate your calling me like this. I'll admit I was quite surprised when I heard it was you, but, well, I've always liked surprises.
Well, you'd better. I like surprises, too, Mr. Boynton.
Well, I guess I'd better say goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Oof wheezes at goodbye, Mr. Boynton.
Well, what are you trying to do, Boynton? Bust my eardrums?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Turner. There's something I've got to tell you right away. I'd like you to prepare my bill.
Your bill?
Yes, I've decided to drive down to the city and surprise Miss Brooks.
Friends, if you suffer from acid indigestion, I hope you didn't miss reading this wonderful news. A headline that says, "New mints, medically proven, quickly rid stomach of gastric distress." That headline is talking about new Bicidol mints. Doctors recommend Bicidol mints because the Bicidol medication acts at once to make painful acid harmless and give you fast 5-way relief. 1. Speeds relief from gas. 2. Sweetens your breath. 3. Gives complete, longer-lasting relief than baking soda. 4. Relieves stomach upset from too much eating, drinking, smoking. 5. Lets you sleep when acid indigestion strikes at night. So don't suffer acid indigestion, heartburn, or gastric distress from excess acidity. Remember, new mints, medically proven, quickly rid stomach of gastric distress. And remember the name, Bicidol mints. Bisodol. Get Bicidol mints for fast relief. Well, once Miss Brooks made what she thought was certain that Mr. Boynton was staying on at the Beaver Lodge, she finished packing her bags and sat down for another cup of coffee when the kitchen door opened.
Hi, Miss Brooks. It's me.
Harriet Conklin, what are you doing in town? I thought your folks had a cottage up at Crystal Lake.
Well, they have, Miss Brooks, and I've been there all summer, but I just came down to surprise Walter Denton. Golly, you know how I feel about Walter. He's my Mr. Boynton.
Really? Who's mine?
I just ran into Walter and Stretch down at the gas station. They told me they're getting your car in shape for your trip up to the lake.
Well, what's keeping them? They've been gone almost 2 hours, and they were just supposed to get it gassed and oiled.
Well, I heard Stretch say that it needed some minor repairs.
Minor repairs? What happened?
The rear end fell out.
Oh, well, thank heaven it's nothing serious.
Oh, gee, it'll be good to have a date with Walter again. Daddy hasn't let me see much of him this summer. Gosh, sometimes Daddy acts like a principal even when he isn't in school. He's so stern and, well, you know how he is, Miss Brooks.
Let's not dwell on it.
He's very conscientious, though. Why, he came into the city just to get some reports out to the Board of Education. Poor Daddy's been working like a dog.
Poor Daddy's had a partner. I'm the one who's been typing those reports.
I know, Miss Brooks. Daddy said he dropped by for them this morning. You see, he was with me when I ran into Walter and Stretch.
Oh, dandy.
Well, Connie, Oh, hello, Harriet.
Hello, Mrs. Davis. What kind of a summer have you had?
About 2 months, dear. What brings you down to the city?
Oh, I was lonesome for Walter, so I phoned him and asked him to ask his sister Betty to ask her mother to ask my mother if I could spend the weekend with her.
From the picture, if you're asking, I'm dancing.
She said okay, so here I am.
Well, good for you, dear. Now, Connie, I prepared a little snack for you to take along on the trip. I just put it in this lunchbox for you.
Well, all I need now is a car. Those boys don't get back soon. Maybe that's them. Maybe that's they. Here they come now.
It is I, Miss Brooks, your faculty comrade, Osgood Conklin.
Oh.
Do I detect a note of dejection in your greeting to me?
Oh, not at all, Mr. Conklin. Come in, won't you?
Thank you. I hope I'm wrong, but it seems to me that when you first laid eyes on me, your face fell about a foot.
It's just that I have a very heavy lower jaw. Those papers you wanted to write here on the hall table. Yes, sir? All you have to do is scoop them up and scat.
Well, not so fast, my dear. I understand you're going on a little trip today?
Me? Oh, yes. Yes, I am.
Well, I'm going back to Crystal Lake myself this afternoon.
All by yourself, eh? Should be a nice trip.
Well, I was hoping not to go by myself. You see, Mrs. Conklin has our car up at the lake. I came down here by bus, and my getting back poses quite a problem.
What's the problem? Doesn't the bus that brought you down turn around?
There's only one bus today, and it left an hour ago. Now, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but if you'd resort to a bit of subtle wheedling, I think you could talk me into making the trip with you.
With me? Oops, there goes that jaw again.
Of course, if you really don't want me to accompany you, you have but to say the word. And I don't want you to be influenced by the fact that you're merely a teacher and I am your principal. A man in whom the superintendent of schools has vested the power to make your life in the coming term a pleasant, easy-going one or a miserable one.
Say, I'm driving up to Crystal Lake today. How about coming along,
Well, thank you, Miss Brooks. This is a very pleasant surprise.
Perhaps you'd better go home and pack, Mr. Conklin. Then when the boys bring...
I'm already packed. I left my bags out in your driveway so we can stow them away as soon as your car arrives.
But I don't know just when that'll be. Walter and Stretch are having it fixed, and...
I see. That's them. That's they. That's... Here they come now.
Hiya, Miss Brooks. We got everything all... Oh, Mr. Conklin.
You've got a heavy jaw, too, haven't you?
Hi, Mr. Conklin. What are you doing in the city? Giving your wife a vacation?
Oh, boy, that's a good one. Giving your wife a vacation. Oh, did you hear that, Miss Brooks?
Silence! Is the car ready to roll?
Yes, sir. We charged the bill, Miss Brooks. Everything's in 1A shippy shape.
Hi, Daddy. Glad you finally got here. Walter, dear.
Hi, Harriet. Dear.
Oh, fudge.
Well, Osgood, come on in.
Hello, Margaret. We haven't time for the amenities now. I'd like to get started for the lake. Miss Brooks is driving me up.
Now, isn't that nice?
Yes, it isn't it? Come on, Mr. Conklin. We'll go back through the kitchen. It's closer to the rear of the driveway.
Very well.
Thanks for getting my car ready, kids. I'll see you in a week.
Here's your lunchbox, Connie. Oh, dear, she's out back by now. I'll give it to her when they pull out of the driveway.
Come on, Stretch, Walter. Let's all stand at the curb and wave goodbye to him.
Yeah, Harriet,
come on,
okay.
Mrs. Davis.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm coming. Well, here we are.
Hello, folks. Why are you all standing out here?
Mr. Boyton.
What are you doing here?
Well, I came down to surprise you, Miss Brooks.
She'll be surprised, all right. She's just leaving for Crystal Lake with Mr. Conklin.
Yeah, but I don't understand. She said she couldn't get away from...
Hey, look. They're pulling out of the driveway now.
Goodbye, Daddy. Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Harriet.
Oh, Connie, you forgot your lunchbox. Oh, here it is, dear.
Oh, thanks, Mrs. Davis.
Goodbye, Miss Brooks, Mr. Conklin.
Goodbye, Stretch.
Goodbye, Stretch.
Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Walter.
Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Mr. Boynton. Goodbye, Mr. Boynton.
I drove down to surprise you, Miss Brooks.
But I thought
You
were
and
out...
Boynton will have ample opportunity to socialize when school opens. Now drive on, Miss Brooks.
But, sir...
Goodbye, Boynton!
Yes. Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Mr. Boynton.
Well, last we're on our way. Crystal Lake, here we come, eh, Miss Brooks?
Rah, rah, rah.
We should accomplish plenty over this weekend. I've taken considerable paperwork with me. Nothing like getting it done in the country, though. I can see it now. Me lying in a hammock and you typing in the bright sunshine.
Well, if that's the case, I'd better pick up some sunglasses.
Goodbye,
Goodbye, Mr. Boynton.
Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
What is this, a merry-go-round? We've left this place twice already. Now, drive on at once, Miss Brooks.
Just a moment, please. There's really nothing to keep me in the city, Miss Brooks, so if there are no objections, I'll be happy to ride back to the lake with you.
Well, I have an objection.
Overruled.
So are you. The back of this heap is loaded with luggage, and 3 in the front would make for an extremely uncomfortable journey. Besides, among our luggage, you will note that there is a typewriter, which Miss Brooks and I shall use at the lake for official school business. This, then, is a business trip. Isn't it, Miss Brooks?
It's no pleasure.
But I still think...
As your principal and superior officer, I order you not to set foot in this car.
Well, I can't very well disobey an order. Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Goodbye, Mr. Boyton. Well, what do you know? I forgot to take the brake off.
If you don't get us off this street,
Yes, sir. We're getting right now.
I hope you know the road. I won't brook any further delays.
Oh, yes, sir. I know this terrain very well. I've driven up several times.
Oh, good. Then maybe I can take a little nap. Cars always make me sleepy. You won't mind if I drop off?
Mind, he says. You go right ahead, Mr. Conklin.
You know, Mrs. Conklin usually hums something before I fall asleep. Gotten sort of accustomed to it. Do you suppose you could hum a little tune for me, Miss Brooks?
I suppose so. I'm quite a good hummer, especially when I'm happy.
Fine. Then suppose you start now. Hum something appropriate to the occasion.
All right. Let's see. I'll be glad when you're bum-de-bum-bum-bum. I'll be glad when you're bum-de-bum-bum-bum.
Say, that's quite a catchy tune. What's the name of it?
The name of it? Oh, it's called I'll Be Glad When You're Mine, You Doll-Face You.
Our Miss Brooks will return in a moment. If you're a driver, pat yourself on the back. For surviving this most difficult summer of highway carnage, you deserve a pat on the back. But you do even better to hold off the self-congratulations until this present holiday weekend is history. Labor Day is your last big test before the official end of summer. Of course, there are more tough driving weekends ahead as people get in their last outings before cold weather. They'll test you, too. On second thought, let's withhold all congratulations until after the first cold snap. We wouldn't want you to get too cocky and celebrate your summer survival with an accident this weekend or on one of the upcoming ones. Satisfied with your performance on the road? Don't stop at that. Work to become a perfectionist on the highway. Be good enough to foresee a possible accident with a driver who is reckless or thoughtless. And give him plenty of room on the road. So when his time comes, it doesn't happen with you in the accident, too. CBS Radio suggests, when driving on our overcrowded highways, especially on these holiday weekends, drive to survive.
Well, since Mr. Boynton surprised me by returning to town, I was hardly in the mood to chauffeur Mr. Conklin up to Crystal Lake. But he insisted that I drive, so drive I did.
Well, I've had quite a nice snooze. How long have we been driving, Miss Brooks?
About a half hour. If you don't mind, Mr. Conklin, I'd like to stop and powder my nose.
Of course. Where are we now?
Now?
Stop that yammering! Miss Brooks, this conduct is unforgivable. If you think...
Miss Brooks, quick, get out and look at your exhaust pipe. I think it's loose.
All right, Walter. Just sit still, Miss Conklin. This won't take a minute.
If you don't get a move on, Miss Brooks, you'll wish you had never seen Madison High.
I'll hurry, sir.
Miss Brooks, I got an idea. If you'll just pretend that you banged your head on the fender while you're looking at the exhaust pipe, you can say that you feel faint and that you can't drive. Then you'll get to stay here with Mr. Boynton.
But how can I bang my head on the fender?
Stoop a little. I'll help you.
Well,
lower.
I don't know, Walter.
Lower. There. That's just right. Hey, Miss Brooks hit her head on the fender. Mrs. Davis, hurry. I think Miss Brooks is going to faint.
Honey, can I be of any help? Miss Brooks, speak to me. Speak to me.
Later.
Come on, let's get her into the house. Give us a hand stretch. Come on.
Sure, Walter.
Yeah.
Just lean on my arm, Miss Brooks. Now, right after walking into the house.
What's going on here? Why are you going into the house, Miss Brooks?
Oh, she's in bad shape, Mr. Conklin.
But how will I get to Crystal Lake?
Oh, take my car, Mr. Conklin. You're very welcome to it.
But I can't drive this old-fashioned gear shift. Please quit jabbering, Mr. Conklin. We got a sick cookie on our hands.
In you go, dear. Now close the door, boys.
So far, it's working great.
Oh, this is no time for laughing, Walter. Gosh, look at that welt on your head, Miss Brooks. I'll go get some iodine and a glass of water.
But Stretch, let me explain.
Put her on the couch, Miss Davis. I'll be right back.
Perhaps you'd better lie down, Connie.
Yeah, then if old Marblehead, Mr. Conklin, comes in, it'll look legitimate.
Miss Brooks, are you feeling any better?
No, Harriet. I'm afraid I can't be moved. Please tell your father I'm sorry this happened.
Oh, I can't tell him anything now, Miss Brooks. Daddy just drove off for Crystal Lake in your car.
But the gear shift, he said he can't drive my car.
He can't. So he ordered Mr. Boyton to drive.
What?
Here, Miss Brooks. Here's the iodine and a glass of water.
Keep the water, Stretch. I'll drink the iodine straight.
Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, transcribed, was produced and directed by Larry Burns, written by Al Lewis and Joe Quillen, with the music of Wilbur Hatch. Mr. Conklin was played by Gail Gordon. Others in tonight's cast were Jane Morgan, Dick Crenna, Bob Rockwell, Gloria McMillan, Leonard Smith, and Bob Sweeney. Be sure to be with us next week for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks.
Commercial time. I rarely do this, but I'm going to because it's something I'm rather proud of. Way back in 2009, I wrote a short story that grew to have a bit of a life of its own and spawned a couple of sequels. James and the Dark Grimoire appeared in the cross-genre anthology Cthulhu Unbound. This was a collection of Lovecraftian tales told in different genre styles. So we had space opera, hard-boiled romance, yep, even romance. Mine was told in the style of a P.G. Wodehouse comedy. If you don't know Wodehouse, you probably at least know his most famous creation, the world's finest valet, don't say butler, Jeeves, and the dim bulb of a fellow he works for, Bertie Wooster. My story was an homage to that. It was about a young man about town named Reggie Brubaker and his valet, James. In my story, Reggie's dragooned into stealing a copy of the Necronomicon for his aunt while visiting a country house for the weekend. Well, the story received some praise. It made Ellen Datlow's honorable mention list for the year's best horror of that year. It was turned into a full-scale radio dramatization here on the Chronic Rift. And it was nominated for the WSFA Small Press Award for Best Short Story by the Washington Science Fiction Association. And now it is being reprinted for the first time in Tales from the Canyons of the Damned, number 6, edited by Daniel Arthur Smith. Canyons is an e-magazine available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. In this issue, you get 3 good-sized genre adventures. It's available in paper format, but also electronically, for 99 cents. Come on, 99 cents for 3 good stories. Especially since Cthulhu Unbound is not available as an ebook. There is a novel called Cthulhu Unbound by Scott Stenwick. That's not it. Cthulhu Unbound, Volume 1, edited by Thomas Brannan and John Sunseri, is the anthology. So Tales of the Canyons of the Damned, number 6, is the only way to get this electronically. If you like the story, you can read the other 2 Reggie and James comedy adventures, James and the Gentry, where Reggie accidentally gets engaged to a fairy princess. That's available as an ebook as part of the anthology Twit Publishing Presents Pulp, Summer-Fall 2011, also 99 cents. And James and the Prince of Darkness, where Reggie sells his soul to the devil and James has to get it back, just appeared last year in the anthology Ain't Superstitious. That comes from Third Flatiron Publishing, and that's their anthology, volume number 13, edited by Juliana Rue, R-E-W, also available in paper or ebook. All these are good for a few laughs. Enjoy. Now, back to the show. I've called Vic and Sade the ultimate domestic comedy, despite the fact that it has very few actual chuckles and hardcore laughs. I'm not really sure whether it's a comedy or a drama that points out the human comedy, or whether it's a dramedy. Vic and Sade ran most of its life as a 15-minute daily show from 1932 to 1944. It came and went after that, and there was even a TV adaptation. Its comedy is very dry. It centers on the minutiae of everyday life, like how to put up your front porch swing, or how to solve a particular algebra problem. I would not be surprised if Seinfeld was heavily influenced by Vic and Sade. Art Van Harvey plays Vic, Bernadine Flynn, his wife Sade, and Bill Idelson, their teenage son Rush. The three live on Virginia Avenue, in an unnamed state in the small house halfway up the next block. It's all very generic and idyllic. It's supposed to be everywhere. It's supposed to be anywhere. It's supposed to be you and your neighborhood. The show was created by Paul Reimer, who wrote every episode. That's 3,000 shows. That would be the equivalent of 1,500 half-hour comedies. That's an amazing amount. Who are these people? Vic is chief accountant at the Consolidated Kitchenware Company, plant number 14. He's also a member of the Sacred Stars of the Milky Way, a fraternal lodge. Remember, this was a time before television. What did people do at night? People listened to the radio, went to movies, but America was a lot more socially oriented. Friends might come over to play cards, or you might go to a lodge meeting or a sewing circle. Numerous episodes deal with Vic and his lodge, though we never see hear any of the other members, nor do we hear from any of their other neighbors. Vic and Sade only ever had 4 cast members. There was Vic, Sade, Rush, and occasionally Uncle Fletcher. And the action never got any further from the house than the front porch. Reimer was born in Bloomington, Illinois, so we can assume Vic and Sade's town is inspired by that. Ray Bradbury was born in Waukegan, Illinois, a fairly similar small town. And Bradbury often said that when writing about small towns, as in his novels Dandelion Wine or Something Wicked This Way Comes, he was influenced by their world as portrayed in Vic and Sade, as well as his own memories. One of the things I really like about the show is how highly stylized the language is. People use intentionally over-formal and convoluted phrases. Everyone calls everybody else by a variety of nicknames. Here's 2 episodes, both 10 to 15 minutes long, both with a summer theme. In the first, it's only 6 months till Christmas, so the business at hand is ordering, or rather not ordering, Christmas cards. In the second, well, it's just another of what made Vic and Sade such a hit. Just folks at home having conversations about the business of life. Vic and Sade, from January 1st, 1939, Grandpa Snyder's Christmas Cards, and from August 14th, 1940, Bacon Sandwiches.
Well, sir, it's late afternoon as our scene opens now, and here walking along the alley toward the small house halfway up in the next block, we find Mr. Victor Gook and his son, Mr. Rush Gook. The gentlemen are returning home from Tatman's vacant lot, where the latter apparently enjoyed a brilliant career at third base. For he's saying,
I had 3 putouts in a row to my credit in the 4th inning, and 3 in a row in the 5th. Talk about your red-hot corner. Third base was sure the red-hot corner this afternoon. I must have handled 20 separate and distinct grounders.
You were wonderful, all right.
Well, you saw me.
Yes, I did. And I couldn't help muttering to myself, he's wonderful. That man is wonderful.
Did you happen to be looking when I scooped up Bluetooth Johnson's wallop?
I don't...
It took a crazy bounce. Hit a rock or something. Anyway, it acted like it was going to go foul. But I was on my toes. I wasn't taking any chances. I stuck out my gloved hand and threw my body sideways.
Sitting on our back porch?
Mom. Stuck out my gloved hand, see? And threw my body sideways. I might have broke my neck. But I stopped that ball. Rooster Davis paid me quite a compliment. He sauntered over from his shortstop position and patted me on the back. That's feeling the old apple fella, he says. Rooster Davis very seldom hands out compliments. I was flattered. Why, the last time...
Hi.
Hi, Mom. Why, the last time that guy ever handed anybody a compliment was way back in 1935. It just so happened...
What's your mother got in her lap?
I don't know. Way back in 1935. It just so happened...
What you got in your lap, Corporal Stanwood?
Come here and see.
Way back in 1935. Huh? The last time Rooster Davis handed anybody a compliment was way back in 1935. It just so happened...
Grandpa Snyder when you were coming along the alley?
No.
Must have turned off on Kelsey.
He did. I noticed his wheelchair way up the block.
Grandpa paid me quite a visit. Only just left about 10 minutes ago.
I see you've also been at home to Ms. Harris.
Why?
Ain't that a Christmas card sample book there in your lap? No?
This is Grandpa Snyder's Christmas card sample book.
Don't tell me he's in the business.
He's in the business, and he's worse than all the rest of the people trying to sell me Christmas cards combined. He gets mad and shouts when you try to get out of buying.
Well, this is the same identical Christmas card sample book as Miss Harris has got.
Sure. Miss Harris and Grandpa Snyder are both representatives for the same company.
The Toledo concern?
Yeah. The outfit that gives you a free parking space for your automobile and your initials in your hat if you buy enough merchandise.
Mind if I look, Ma?
No, sit down. Help yourself.
Grandpa makes one more trying to line you up for Christmas cards.
Yes.
How many are there altogether?
I'd hate to count them.
They're certainly all enterprising salesmen. The summer ain't even set in yet. One generally associates Christmas cards with icy blasts and snow.
Here's a familiar one.
Huh?
Give me a kiss and make me feel fine. This is Christmas 1939.
Uh-huh.
Miss Harris has got it for sale.
Miss Harris has got all these for sale. Like I say, her and Grandpa represent the same company.
Wash off that dirty neck of yours and wipe away that sneer. I'm wishing you and your family a prosperous new year.
Move over, George. I want to look, too.
You've seen them all, Vic. They're exactly like the ones in Miss Harris's sample book.
Well, didn't you tell Grandpa you had dealings with a party connected with the same Christmas card company he works for? And that
You try to tell him something he don't want to hear sometime.
How you mean?
He pretends to be deafer than he is.
Yeah?
Soon as he wheeled his wheelchair here by the porch and produced his sample book, I said, "Oh, lands, Grandpa. Miss Harris across the alley sells them kind of Christmas cards." He put that black tin horn up to his ear. "What?" he says. "What?" I repeated my remark several times, but all he said was what.
Say, that's not a bad idea.
No, good idea. If I ever try to sell something, I'm going to pretend I can't hear. The person you're trying to do business with won't bring up any objections if you can't hear his objections.
Very true.
Give me a kiss, old girl of mine. This is Christmas 1939.
Give me a kiss while it's snowing and sleeting, and accept this heartfelt holiday greeting.
Darn Christmas card company runs that give me a kiss business in the ground. The verses on half the cards in there start off that way.
Give me a kiss full of Christmas time joys. Santa Claus is coming with candy and toys.
Give me a kiss to remember, my dear. And don't forget, December 25th is full of holiday cheer.
Now, who could a person send cards like that to except their sweetheart or somebody? A family like us certainly wouldn't order 2 or 3 dozen of them and mail them to friends and acquaintances. Like Mr. Buller and Y.Y. Flirch and them.
Here's one for Mr. Buller. Give me a kiss and then go away. I'm listening for Christmas bells on Santa Claus' sleigh. Here's one for Y.Y. Flirch. Give me a kiss before I get mad. A prosperous New Year.
Stop.
What?
Quit reading them silly things.
Okay.
Well, how come Grandpa left the sample book saved? Why didn't you make him take it away with him?
I tried hard enough, but he made out like he couldn't hear what I was saying.
Same stunt, huh?
Sure. Lands, I was almost screaming. I says, "Grandpa, there's absolutely no sense in you leaving your sample book here. We can't possibly give you an order." All he done was hold that trumpet up to his ear and say, "What?"
Well, could he hear your other remarks?
Oh, sure. I said, "Grandpa, how's everyone at home?" He said, "Just fine." I says, "The girls both feeling well?" He says, "Mabel's had a little cold, but she's about over it." I says, "Are you warm enough out here?" He says, "Very comfortable, thanks. I got a vest and 2 wool sweaters underneath my coat." I says, "I'm afraid I can't buy any Christmas cards off you." He says, "What?" "I'm afraid I can't buy any of your Christmas cards, Grandpa," I says. "What?" he says. "What?"
Cagey, old rooster.
You bet. He hears just what he wants to hear and nothing else.
Here's a page of samples that haven't got that give me a kiss feature. Give me a hug.
Aw.
Sure. Give me a hug, old girl of mine. This is Christmas 1939.
Oh, my.
Give me a hug while it's snowing and sleeting, and accept this heartfelt holiday greeting.
The same verses, only it's changed to hug, huh?
Yeah. Give me a hug before I get mad. A prosperous New Year.
It's difficult to work up the true Christmas spirit during this summer weather. I need icicles.
Here's a verse I haven't seen before. Give me a hug for Christmas time's sake. If I don't receive presents, I'll jump in the lake.
You made that up.
Oh, look for yourself. Right here, all lettered in tinsel. Give me a hug for Christmas time's sake. If I don't
That's out and out crazy.
Yeah.
The worst thing about Grandpa being here with his sample book was Miss Harris saw him.
Huh?
She stepped out on her back porch to water her plants and glanced over this way.
She probably didn't suspect Grandpa was a competitor of hers in the Christmas
Oh,
card.
yes, she did. She spotted the sample book.
Oh, you know.
I could tell.
Oh, it's a long distance from her porch, Greta.
Listen now, while I tell you what she done. She put down her sprinkler and turned this way and stared, with her hands on her hips.
Well, that don't prove anything.
Sure it does. Well, I wouldn't be surprised but what our voices carried over to her house. Mine could have, easy enough. I was shouting. I'm afraid I can't buy any Christmas cards from you, Grandpa, I hollered. Why, I'll bet my necktie she heard me. Sure.
Give me a hug, you saucy minx. Old Santa
I just
Claus.
couldn't do anything with Grandpa. Almost got myself hoarse trying to explain. Grandpa, I says, I can't give you an order. My next-door neighbor, Miss Scott, sells Christmas cards. Miss Harris across the alley sells Christmas cards. My sister in Carberry, Illinois, sells Christmas cards for the church treasury. Even my little boy sells Christmas cards. The children make 'em up at high school there. I might just as well have been talking to the garbage box. He sat in his wheelchair with his darn old trumpet to his ear and said what?
Very brainy old geezer.
I'll say.
Give me a hug or I'll kick your father. Holiday chimes.
Heard
ring
everything
on.
else I said. I says, Grandpa, we don't see much of you around Virginia Avenue these days. He says, I've been spending most of my time over on Clinton Boulevard. They're tearing up the street. I says, I read in the newspaper where it stated Beulah took a trip to Detroit, Michigan. He says, yes, visited a girl she went to business college with and her husband. But when I said, Grandpa, Miss Harris across the alley has got these same kind of Christmas cards for sale, it was a different story. What? He says. What? So now I've got this sample book to worry about.
And a brand new Christmas card salesman breathing his hot breath down your neck.
Yeah.
Back to kisses again here.
It's so.
Give me a kiss or I'll telephone the police. May the blessings of Christmas never cease.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block.
And now, get ready to smile again with radio's home folks, Vic and Sade, written by Paul Reimer.
Well, sir, it's late in the afternoon as we approach the small house, halfway up in the next block now, and here in the living room we find Mrs. Victor Gook all by herself. Mrs. Gook is established in her husband's easy chair, her sewing basket in her lap. We're untutored in such matters, but we're inclined to believe she's embroidering initials on napkins. However, we're probably mistaken because... What? Oh, wait a minute. Here's a voice. Listen.
Mom. Hey, don't you be coming in that front door with your muddy feet.
I'm not.
Go around to the back.
I ain't coming in at all. What you doing?
Sewing.
Why don't you come outside? Rain's over. Sun's shining now.
Well, don't stand there holding the door open.
Nice out.
Is that?
Sure is. Run out in the porch.
Well, I'm busy.
It's real swell out. Bring your sewing and come sit in the swing.
Any mail in the box?
No. You coming?
Well, I might as well take a look at this sunshine you're talking about.
No fooling, it's warm as toast.
What time is it?
Not quite 3 o'clock.
Well, wait till I get my sweater.
Oh, you won't need your sweater, Mom.
Certainly will.
No.
Well, I'm going to put it on just the same.
This is August, Mom.
Mm-hmm. August, when it pays a person to watch their step. Air is cram-packed full of sickness.
That's what you say about every month in the year. Take it in spring, summer, fall, or winter. You always tell how the air is cram-packed
Well,
full of
let's go for going.
Let's take advantage of the porch swing while we can.
Why?
Because the porch swing season is short, and won't be long before we'll be taking it down and putting it in the
Close
basement.
the door.
It'll stay there till next year.
Say, it is warm.
What'd I tell you?
Wasn't anywhere near like this noon.
Thermometer's been climbing steadily up the ladder all day.
Well, last night's paper stated rising temperatures, but I never expected this much of a change.
Me neither. Have a seat.
This is getting to be an awful junky-looking porch swing.
Next year we can slap on a coat of paint.
Well, we'll probably buy a new one. Half the slats on it are loose.
You and me and Gov are the types of individuals that give a porch swing rough treatment.
You mean you're the type of individuals that gives a porch swing rough treatment? Me and Gov don't invite our friends over to hang by their heels on it.
I suppose you refer to Smelly Clark.
I refer to the whole bunch of you.
I guess I have to admit I belong to a pretty red-blooded, active set of fellas. My arteries pump away with
There goes
energy.
Mr. Kreider.
Uh-huh.
Got his little quarter's worth of steak from Croucher's Meat Market.
How you know?
He gets a little quarter's worth of steak every evening. Cooks it himself and eats it himself.
Pay him to buy it in the bulk. Makes me think of a scheme as figured out by Rooster Davis.
Hmm?
He's going to go in the restaurant business, see?
Hmm.
Specializing in bacon sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
Selling nothing but bacon sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
On the corner of Jefferson and Main Street.
Oh, go ahead and tell what you're going to tell. Don't just say one sentence at a time and then wait till I answer. Miss Elder's got that habit. Gives a person the willies.
Eugene Partlow's got the worst habit I know of. He'll strike up a conversation with you and tell a story or something, and then won't give you a chance to tell a story.
Miss Apparat will do that, too.
The other day I saw Eugene in Tapman's vacant lot.
There goes Mr. Clark.
Uh-huh.
Got his little umbrella up.
Wonder why. The rain stopped.
Well, he carries it to keep off the sun. He had sunstroke one time and's been scared of it ever since.
Yeah?
He always wears tennis shoes on account of that, too.
Because he got sunstroke?
Mm-hmm. When he was a young man working on a farm, he keeled over from the heat. Affected his ankle some way. Had to wear tennis shoes ever since to be comfortable.
Funny place to get sunstroke, an ankle.
Yeah, but that's the way it is.
Pretty nice sitting here in the porch swing, huh?
Lovely day, all right.
Ain't you glad I called you out?
Never was so happy in my life.
What, you'd pass a sarcastic remark, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. I like to see a streak of fun in an individual's makeup. The way I look at it, an American citizen
Miss
ought to
Simmons?
always... Huh?
Miss Simmons turning off on Kelsey.
Uh-huh.
She's got her little girl.
Oh, I was telling you about Eugene Partlow and how he won't give you a chance in the conversation. The other day I got talking with him up in Tapman's vacant lot, and he whipped out a story concerning a big fish as caught by his Uncle Vernil. When he got through and I said, that's fine, I started to tell about a big fish. But do you think he'd let me? No, sir, he plowed right ahead with a story about another big fish as caught by his Uncle Hook.
Oh, that's Miss Apparat to a T. And if a person does get a word in edgeways, she don't listen.
Uh-huh.
You can tell by the expression on her face. She's just waiting for you to get through so she can go ahead again.
Uh-huh.
I don't really need this sweater at that.
Should I help you slip it off?
No, I'm going to leave it on. People shouldn't take chances in August. The air seems balmy, but you can't ever tell. Take our next-door neighbor there in Dixon, Mr. Slither. He went out one morning to get the newspaper in his undershirt. Come back in the house, give a sneeze, went to bed, and stayed there for 6 weeks. Wasn't the least bit funny. They were poor people, and he did piecework in a foundry, and I remember that sick spell ate up everything they had in the bank. My mother used to take hot dishes over a lot.
No, that sure was quick work. Just give one sneeze on, then went to bed.
Yeah?
Are you sure somebody didn't shoot him in the head with a revolver?
Things like that ain't to be joked about, son. There goes Mr. Uggers.
Got his little rake to rake the leaves with.
When you going to get at our leaves?
Oh, Saturday, maybe.
Yes, and on Saturday you'll come around with monstrous big plans about 9 innings of baseball over in Tapman's vacant lot, and the leaves will stay right where they are.
I think maybe I can arrange my schedule so I'll have a few minutes to devote to raking.
Take a lot more than a few minutes.
Well, we'll see.
I'll say we will.
Years back, in my younger days, I used to get quite a kick out of autumn leaves. I used to enjoy running through them.
Oh, Aunt Bess and I used to do that. One day we were running through piles of leaves, and Aunt Bess tripped over a pig that was asleep in one of them.
Oh, I didn't finish telling you. Go ahead.
You didn't finish what?
Telling you about Rooster and the bacon sandwiches. But go ahead with your story. Aunt Bess tripped over a pig, huh?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, that was all. She fell down and was scared, and the pig run away squealing.
They tell me pigs will eat people.
Yes, I understand they will.
Be a very miserable way to die, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of embarrassing.
Uh-huh.
Newspapers state Mr. Ray Johnson of this city passed away yesterday as a result of being ate by a pig.
Rash, for goodness sake.
Well, yeah.
Ain't that the little Rogers girl across the street?
It's one of them.
She's got her tam o' shanter on.
Uh-huh. Certainly a swell day, ain't it, boy?
Yeah. By tonight, there might be a thunderstorm come up.
I doubt it.
You can't ever tell about August weather that way. Why, one time there in Dixon, it come up a hailstorm so big that the whole town was covered with hail a foot deep. I remember...
Oh, I never told you.
Huh?
I still haven't told you about Rooster Davis and the bacon sandwiches.
Well, tell it.
Go ahead with what you were telling.
Well, that's all there was to it. One time in Dixon, during what looked like a calm summer day, it come up a hailstorm to where the ground was covered a foot deep.
Very remarkable.
What about Rooster and the sandwiches?
He's going to start a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
In this restaurant, he's going to sell nothing but bacon sandwiches. Going to deal in bacon sandwiches exclusively. Restaurant's going to be right downtown.
Yeah.
Corner of Main and Jefferson Streets.
Oh, there you go again.
How you mean?
Well, instead of telling a thing and finishing it, you just say one sentence at a time and make a person answer.
Oh.
What about Rooster and his bacon sandwiches?
Well, he's going to have a live pig out in back of the restaurant, see?
Uh-huh.
And whenever a customer comes in and orders a bacon sandwich, Rooster steps outdoors with a knife and cuts off a piece of bacon.
Cuts it off the pig?
Sure. All bacon comes from pigs.
Well, I know that foolish. What's the point?
The point is that the pig's alive.
Well?
The pig is given ether and chloroform so it won't hurt. A chunk of bacon is removed. A trained nurse steps forward and nurses the pig back to health and strength. He eats his dinner and gets fat, making more bacon. Another customer wants a sandwich, so Rooster again puts his pig to sleep with ether and chloroform and again cuts off a chunk. Sure. See, all you need is one pig. You don't lead a very gay life of it, what with being stabbed every little while.
Ish.
Huh?
Ish.
Okay.
Here comes Mr. Foster on his bicycle.
Uh-huh.
He's got his dinner bucket tied to his handlebar.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going in the house.
Oh, why, Mom?
Oh, I've got things to do.
Well, it's been a pleasant chat.
Yeah.
Which concludes another brief interlude at the small house halfway up in the next block. And so we leave Mrs. Beach and Crisco's Vic and Sade until the next time. Don't forget to listen. This is Ed Roberts speaking.
That's your old-time radio fix for this week. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Be sure to subscribe to The Chronic Rift on iTunes or visit us frequently at chronicrift.com.
What a voice. What a voice. Simply means age. A dink-a-doo, a dink-a-dee. Good night, folks. Signing off.
B-A-C-A-T-I-O-N. In the summer sun. Put away the books, we're out of school. The weather's warm, but we'll play it cool. We're on vacation, having lots of fun. B-A-C-A-T-I-O-N. In the summer sun.
We're gonna